Alright guys, we're back for another Dokkan battle video. So today we're going to go ahead and awaken Modified JANEMBA. Now remember, Modified JANEMBA's SSR actually came out last year, so I of course already have him at link level 10 and stuff like that. Let's go ahead and Dokkan awaken him. Modified JANEMBA to me seems as though he potentially could be one of the best characters in the batch. I was very impressed at some of the numbers I saw from him. This is a character that's able to get 1,000,000 defense with guard. I mean, obviously that's very good, right? So I think Modified JANEMBA, when we do some of these fights against Omega and Fusion Zamasu and some of these stages, I think Modified JANEMBA could potentially be able to help us out quite a bit, actually. So I am going to have to get, just his one new link to level 10. I may actually even use link skill orbs for that. I'm not sure. So this is what I went with in terms of his build. I know JANEMBA does need to get hit in order to build up his defense, but, I mean, those hits are going to come. It's only 3 hits. It's not a big deal. The dodge could really save us a lot of potential damage. Even on a character that guards with 1,000,000 defense, they'll still take damage from these big bosses. We all know this. JANEMBA, to me, is the exact type of character that, like, a level... This is the type of character you'd want to use a raw defensive equip on, by the way. I see a lot of people posting their screenshots on Twitter. People love giving out these defensive equips on characters that it's not, characters that just have raw defense and shit like that. Like you don't want to give raw defense equips to like Dark King Fu or something like that. Like no. Like you want to say like raw defensive equips on characters with guard and damage reduction is what you want to go for. I think for JANEMBA especially, this could maybe help him just take a little bit less damage from that first hit, which could certainly help out. And then 25 dodge, of course, is a good number. If you don't want to go dodge, JANEMBA does have a fairly powerful super attack effect. 30% attack and defense for 3 turns. So that, of course, could be pretty handy, right? If you get additionals and then get that hidden potential system additional super. So there we go. Let's go ahead and check out how good he is. Again, Rainbow level 10 links right now. Alright guys, we are here in an event looking at Modified JANEMBA. I think that Modified JANEMBA is just straight up a pretty good hero's character. Certainly he's a character that we could say is potentially more suited to like the dismal future red zone than maybe something like Omega. But I do think, depending upon how the fight goes, what Big Bad Boss's characters are around. Remember, Int Omega, his AoEs do the same damage that Int Fusion Zamasu's AoEs do, which is 500k. Now, JANEMBA is going to be guarding for the first 5 turns. So obviously during those 5 turns, he's going to be tremendous. But, he is a villain. Being hit by Omega would be a villain. So, if JANEMBA's stats were super high, he potentially could be good for Omega. I think that the Heroes team... Oh, man, I mean, it does just work well in both really tough fights. Like, we actually have a nice roster of characters that we could use for both kind of, like, runs here. Alright, so Modified JANEMBA, his link set here, Brutal Beatdown, Metamorphosis, Big Bad Bosses, Shocking Speed, Nightmare, Fear and Faith, and Shining Limit. I don't know what's going on with the cord. Okay, hold on. Let me reset my phone. Maybe that'll fix the cord, because it's just kind of dancing in the wind by itself. Alright, anyway, yeah, Brutal Beatdown, Metamorphosis, Big Bad Bosses, Shocking Speed, Nightmare, Fear and Face, Shining Limit. Not bad. The one thing, though, is that I do think that Super Saiyan 3 Rose, him not having Big Bad Bosses really, I think, is kind of a bummer. It really would help mold, like, Fu and JANEMBA and a lot of these characters a little bit stronger together if Super Saiyan 3 Rose also had it, but, I mean, it's certainly not bad. I mean, Big Bad Boss is, of course, still tremendous. Now, before we continue, JANEMBA needs to be used on the Heroes team, or cross. He gets 40% attack units per crossover, ally in the team up to 200%, so crossover is absolutely where we're using him. Alright, so let's go ahead and get a rotation in here. Now, we do want to keep in mind that JANEMBA does want to be hit, so we could put him in the middle slot. We'd be able to get a little bit more in terms of our links and stuff like that. But, again, we definitely want to make sure that JANEMBA is in front of numerous attacks. So, let's just do this. Not going to be able to do too good in terms of Fu's abilities here, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So, JANEMBA gets an additional attack that has a 70% chance to be a super when facing 2 or more enemies. And then he also guards for the first 5 turns. Which is good. Alright, of course, additional normal, damn it. That does hurt, because JANEMBA has a very powerful super attack effect. which is that he does supreme damage, but then he raises his attack and defense by 30% for 3 turns, and then lowers enemy attack and defense by 30% for 3 turns, right? So him getting the additional supers could be good for his stats, but I mean, I typically do have really bad luck with additionals. That's why, you know, some people will go, oh my god, Beast Gohan is so back, and it's like, well, no, I mean, when he just has normal after normal, he sucks. Like, that's all that happens with me, so whatever. So we got that. Remember, JANEMBA gets a 40% attack and defense per crossover ally. Oh, brother, dude, this turn is going to take so long. The Vegeto's just going to attack forever. I'll be right back in 2 seconds. All right, so JANEMBA, our defense should be... yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of support in this rotation, although to be fair, Hearts and Fu are not exactly weak characters, right? So, remember, it always is important to understand, like, okay, like, is a character being juiced up by support to where now they're runnable when they wouldn't be without support? And the answer for that JANEMBA is no, like, he would be good even without support. And are these support characters actually viable in the tough, like, in, well, I don't want to necessarily say the toughest fights, but in tough fights? And for Fu and Hearts, the answer is yes, right? Certainly Hearts can be very effective, I would argue, in the Dismal Future Red Zone. Maybe not so much against Omega, depending upon how that fight goes, but, you know, certainly could be pretty good here. All right, now we're getting, what is it? It's Shocking Speed with Hearts, which we're going to lose by putting JANEMBA in slot 1, but of course we want to make sure I think he has to get hit one more time to fully build up, right? Our stats are going to go up even more because we're going to go ahead and hit this, so Fu gets his full support. And then JANEMBA, I mean, if we had him in the middle slot right now, JANEMBA would have over 1 million defense, right? And remember, we got an additional normal last turn. So it's like, JANEMBA is crazy, right? Like, being this strong, this fast. He was fully built up, okay. But being this strong, this fast in the fight is, like, really impactful. I mean, he's at 1 million defense with guard. He double supered. I mean, look at the damage numbers he's doing. You know, 10 million right there. Like, modified JANEMBA is really, really strong. Nice super attack dodge. We'll take it. We'll take it. So, I mean, that's it. I mean, he's just good. I haven't really used him in too many of my like videos, just going through like Omega and Fusion Tommaso and stuff like that. But I mean, I easily could have. The only thing that maybe is a bit of a negative for JANEMBA, I guess, is that he is sort of restricted to the crossover team, right? Like, we're definitely not going to be using this guy. What are his other teams? Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So, Modified JANEMBA, he doesn't have the most teams ever, but he's on Crossover, Dragon Ball Hero, Crota Body and Mind, and Accelerated Battle. Maybe something like Accelerated Battle, but, you know, we probably wouldn't end up using him. Accelerated Battle could be an interesting villain team, actually, if it would get, like, proper leaders, which, like a good villain leader. Like Transformation Boost, Accelerated Battle, Battle of Fates. Those are categories with huge super and extreme class rosters that could be really good for, you know, super class characters or extreme class characters, depending upon what the like the leader is like, right? Like, because the leader really does dictate like the strength and style of the team. If the leader is just like this umbrella that can protect everything, like, you know, LR Bulma as an example, Orange Piccolo, Limit Breaker Vegito, right? These characters who are just like unbelievable, can do everything. Like, the team itself will be strengthened, but you're gonna have 2 of the leader most of the time, so like you're gonna want the characters to potentially vibe well with them too. All right, so what are we looking like here? So this is probably gonna be pretty much the highest we'll see out of JANEMBA, yeah, with several of the super attack effect stacks. I mean, just running him with Fu. I mean, again, this is not like, oh, like, we're running him with Fu, like, that's not something we can do. Like, no, it sure is. And there he gets up to, wow, yeah, I mean, that's good. Right, that's with guard, too. Now, remember, what he loses is just his guard after the first 5 turns. So, like, if we were fighting Omega like this, JANEMBA would die to a super attack, of course. But JANEMBA is going to double-digit tank the AoE normals, right? Like, he's going to be effective in there. And then JANEMBA's strength against STR Omega and TEQ Omega certainly would be good. We have covered everything with him, right? So he gets a 40% attack units per crossover category ally in the team. He gets 80% attack with every attack performed up to 240%. The 60% defense every attack received up to 180%. 2 key, 70% chance to crit after he performs or receives his 5th attack, which, you know, we should already have that. So there we go. There is modified Janemba. He doesn't take a very long video just to show how ridiculously powerful he is as a character, right? I actually really like modified Janemba. I think a lot of the heroes characters this year, Dokkan made them much better. Nice, another super attack dodge. We'll take that. Dokkan made these heroes characters much better than most of like the TURs and stuff like that we've seen, you know, throughout the last like, you know, year or so, right? Like modified Janemba, like I'll take him. A top TUR list is actually tough. There's a nice triple super right there, beautiful. Because it's like, would I ever say like Super Trunks is better than Janemba? No, or like Turles, or like, you know, like Kale, because of how weak the Universe 6 ally is. I personally think that really hurts Kale. Like if you could just be transform Kale all the time, like yeah, she's great. But I mean, you could say the same thing about Super Trunks, same thing, right? So. Yeah, there we go. There's what modified Janemba does. He can put up decent stats. He could have high defense. He's got guard. He's just generally a very, very strong character. I do like this modified Janemba quite a bit. You know, maybe he might be a bit reliant on big bad bosses, but I mean, that's something that you could say certainly about any character, right? Like all these characters, like big bad bosses is something that, like, you know, really matters quite a bit for them, right? Like if you have big bad bosses up 25% attack and defense, you know, that's utterly ridiculous right there. Alrighty, so we have our boy modified Janemba here. So this is boost received in the depths of hell. Janemba modified. Leader skills, crossover category key, 350% of stats. Good for link leveling, I guess. His super attack is the Rakshasa's Radiant Bullet, which does supreme damage enemy, and then raises attack and defense by 30% for 3 turns, and then lowers enemy attack and defense by, it's 20% for 3 turns. The attack debuffs, these are always for 3 turns, right? If you use it, or if the enemy, like villains, use it, right? 3 turns is always usually what the buff is. Passive skill is Dr. W's Deed. So he gets an additional that has a 70% chance to be a super when facing 2 enemies or more. And then he guards for the first 5 turns from when Janemba first shows up. Then Janemba gets 40% attack and defense per crossover category ally in the team, up to 200%. He gets 80% attack with every attack performed, up to 240%. Then he gets 60% defense with every attack received, up to 180%. And then finally, he gets 2 key and a 70% chance to crit, starting from his next attacking turn after he either does 5 attacks or receives 5 attacks. Now, a lot of times I'm really not a fan of the mechanic of get hit to tank better, but this does feel like a character at the moment that it's not really a major concern. I would argue that Gamma 1 is a character who really can get smashed right now. I like Gamma 1 better than a lot of the Dokkan Fest TURs, but it's not October of 22 anymore, where Gamma 1 is untouchable while he's guarding with damage reduction. Like now he could get smacked by like some of these big, like these bosses turn 1. So having to get hit to get defense is just terrible right now. So that's something to keep in mind. Janemba's links are Brutal Beatdown, Metamorphosis, Big Bad Bosses, Shocking Speed, Nightmare, Fear and Face, Shouting Limit. Janemba characters always have really, really strong link sets. It's a big thing about Janemba. 12 Q multiplier, 145%, a bit higher than typical, which is good. I mean, we'll certainly take that. And then finally, Janemba has these couple of category teams here. He is on the crossover team, which is obviously very good. We have the very powerful heroes characters, and then, you know, the 2 Android 21s are decent, right? So that's good. Then we have the Dragon Ball Hero category, which is, you know, much better this year than it has been in years past, which is good. We also have Corroded Body and Mind, which, I mean, for the most part, is like a heroes team at this point. All of, like, the masked, like, you know, like, characters and stuff like that. So, like, I think Corroded Body and Mind could be decent, but it would essentially be, like, Corroded Body and Mind Heroes variant, right? And then, finally, Janemba is on Accelerated Battle, which is a category that has a lot on it. So, I mean, this is interesting. I mean, if we would get more Accelerated Battle leaders, I think that this could be a very interesting category. Obviously, the 2 leaders for the team right now are Physical Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who's trash, and LR Hit and God Goku, who's trashed, right? Like, those 2 characters, I do not think are very impressive or exceptional at this point. To run 2 of them, yeah, like no way. So accelerated battle, I mean it's a big, powerful category. So like that's like New Year's, Christmas, anniversary. One of these characters could potentially lead it. That would be really cool. So let me know what you guys think of modified Janemba. Thanks guys for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.